Caller.
What for?
I have to take a cab back from secretarial school tonight.
Secretarial school?
Well, at last she's gonna make something of herself. She's...
I'm Arkansas, and I'm looking for a tall man.
I'm Bambi, and men look for me.
40 obscure and underrated TV shows from the 1970s. What if I told you that some of television's most groundbreaking shows have been completely erased from our memory? In the next few minutes, I'll reveal 3 revolutionary series that changed TV forever, but disappeared without a trace. Introduce you to the forgotten show that inspired X-Files and modern supernatural television, and uncover the historic moment in television that happened years before we thought it did.
And a bus ride only used to cost a dime.
But first, let me show you a piece of lost television history that will completely change how you see your favorite modern shows.
Say hello to him.
My name is Dan.
The Sixth Sense, 1972. Before the X-Files made paranormal investigation cool, there was Dr. Michael Rhodes,
Michael Rhodes, leading authority in the investigation.
a university professor with a unique gift for sensing the supernatural. Starring Gary Collins, The Sixth Sense followed Rhodes as he investigated seemingly impossible cases, from haunted houses to psychic phenomena. What made this show truly special was its grounded approach to the supernatural, treating each case with scientific curiosity rather than sensationalism. Remember those eerie opening credits where the camera zoomed through a kaleidoscope of paranormal images while electronic music played? For many kids, just that intro was enough to send shivers down their spines. The show even caught the attention of Rod Serling, who later hosted reruns cut down into 30-minute episodes for syndication. While Dr. Rhodes investigated the paranormal from the safety of his university, our next show took viewers on a journey far beyond the familiar world.
Future and from other worlds. A party of adventurers journeys through zones of time, back to their own time.
Fantastic Journey, 1977. Lost wasn't the first show about people stranded in a mysterious place. In 1977, Fantastic Journey took us through the Bermuda Triangle and into a realm where past, present, and future collided. When a group of scientists' boat disappears into a strange green cloud, they find themselves in a world where different time zones exist side by side. Led by Varian, a mysterious man from the 23rd century played by Jared Martin, the show featured a young Roddy McDowall and gave us one of TV's first autonomous androids. Each week, our travelers encountered different pockets of time, from primitive societies to advanced civilizations, while searching for a way home. Who remembers Varian's sonic ring? A device that could do practically anything the plot required? It was like a Swiss Army knife of special effects. From the mysterious realms of time travel, let's shift to a different kind of magic, one that combined sleight of hand with crime fighting. The Magician, 1973. Bill Bixby might be better known as the Incredible Hulk, but before he was turning green, he was pulling rabbits out of hats and solving crimes. The Magician starred Bixby as Anthony Blake, a millionaire illusionist who used his skills in magic to help people in trouble. Living in a customized airplane and driving a white Corvette, Blake was like a sophisticated Batman without the cape. What made this show unique was how it featured real magic tricks. Bixby actually learned illusions for the role, and the show never used camera tricks to enhance the magic. Remember the episodes where Blake would explain how a trick worked, only to use that same technique later to catch the bad guys? It was educational and thrilling at the same time. Speaking of disappearing acts, while Bill Bixby used illusions to fight crime, our next hero had a more scientific approach to becoming invisible. Gemini Man, 1976. Imagine the Invisible Man meets James Bond, and you've got Gemini Man. Ben Murphy starred as Sam Casey, a secret agent who gained the power of invisibility after a diving accident exposed him to radiation. The catch? He could only stay invisible for 15 minutes a day, thanks to a special digital watch that controlled his power. The show's special effects might look dated now, but in 1976, watching Sam disappear by pressing his watch was mind-blowing. Who else remembers holding their breath during those tense moments when Sam's 15 minutes were almost up, and he was still in enemy territory? Despite its cool premise, the show lasted only 11 episodes, making it one of the most elusive entries on our list. If Sam Casey's 15-minute invisibility timer kept viewers on edge, the anthology series that followed would stretch those moments of suspense into full episodes of terror. Ghost Story, A Circle of Fear, 1972. Hosted by Sebastian Cabot, this anthology series started as Ghost Story before rebranding as Circle of Fear. Each week, viewers were treated to a new tale of supernatural horror, featuring some of Hollywood's biggest names before they were stars. A young Jodie Foster appeared in one episode, and Star Trek's Leonard Nimoy directed another. The show's format changed halfway through its run, dropping Cabot's host segments and the gothic atmosphere for more contemporary horror. Remember that chilling episode about the cursed camera that showed people's deaths before they happened? Or the one about the girl's reflection that came to life? This was nightmare fuel that kept 70s kids awake at night. While Ghost Story kept viewers awake with supernatural frights, NBC's next experiment would have them literally hanging on the edge of their seats. Cliffhangers, 1979. NBC tried something revolutionary with cliffhangers. 3 20-minute serial adventures packed into one hour-long show. Each segment ended with a literal cliffhanger, making viewers wait until next week to see how the hero would escape. The 3 serials were Stop Susan Williams, The Secret Empire, and The Curse of Dracula. What made this show special was its throwback to the movie serials of the 1940s, complete with over-the-top action and seemingly inescapable death traps. Who else remembers shouting theories at the TV about how Susan Williams would survive her latest predicament? From weekly cliffhangers to a howling twist on counterculture. Werewolf of Woodstock, 1975. In one of television's strangest attempts to combine horror with current events, this made-for-TV movie-turned-series featured a man who becomes a werewolf after being electrocuted by sound equipment left over from the Woodstock Festival. It was equal parts horror story and commentary on the generation gap, with a soundtrack that mixed howling wolves with psychedelic rock. The show's bizarre premise actually worked thanks to its tongue-in-cheek approach and genuine scares. Remember how the werewolf's transformations were triggered by rock music instead of the full moon? It was a unique twist that only the 70s could have produced. While The Werewolf of Woodstock mixed horror with rock and roll, our next series took a more artistic approach to terror. The Night Gallery, 1970. While everyone remembers The Twilight Zone, Rod Serling's follow-up series, Night Gallery, often gets overlooked. Instead of science fiction, Night Gallery focused on horror and the supernatural, with Serling introducing each story by showcasing an eerie painting. The artwork alone was enough to give viewers nightmares. The show featured early work from directors like Steven Spielberg and gave us unforgettable stories like The Doll and Green Fingers. Remember that episode about the earwig that crawled into someone's brain? That scene probably still haunts some viewers today. Rod Serling's paintings of terror would give way to a different kind of storyteller, a newspaper reporter who found himself face-to-face with the supernatural.
Darren McGavin in
Kolchak, The Night Stalker, 1974. Before there were ghost hunters and paranormal investigators on every channel, there was Carl Kolchak, a newspaper reporter who kept stumbling onto supernatural stories that nobody would believe. Darren McGavin played Kolchak with the perfect mix of skepticism and determination, dressed in his signature rumpled seersucker suit and straw hat. Each week, Kolchak faced a different monster. Vampires, werewolves, zombies, and even a prehistoric lizard creature in the Chicago sewers. The show's influence can't be overstated. It directly inspired The X-Files, with Chris Carter citing Kolchak as a major influence. Remember Kolchak's frustrated editor, who could never quite believe his stories? It was a running gag that never got old. While Carl Kolchak chased monsters through the streets of Chicago, Ben Richards was running from a different kind of horror, one born not of supernatural origins, but from mankind's desperate quest for immortality.
Who search for Ben Richards.
The Immortal, 1970. Imagine discovering your blood could cure any disease and prevent aging. Sounds great, right? Not for Ben Richards, a test driver whose unique blood made him the target of a wealthy, dying millionaire who wanted to drain him dry. Christopher George starred in this series that was part medical thriller, part chase drama, as Richards went on the run to avoid becoming a living blood bank. The show explored themes of immortality and medical ethics way ahead of its time. Remember how every episode ended with Richards having to leave someone behind to protect them from the millionaire's endless pursuit? It was heartbreaking and thrilling at the same time. Sarge, 1971. Before Law & Order, there was Sarge, a show about a cop who becomes a priest but can't quite leave his detective days behind. George Kennedy starred as Father Samuel Patrick Kavanaugh, nicknamed Sarge, who traded his badge for a collar but kept finding himself involved in criminal cases. The unique premise combined police procedural with spiritual guidance, as Sarge used both detective skills and pastoral care to help those in trouble. Each episode walked a fascinating line between crime solving and moral guidance. Remember how Sarge would often hear confessions from criminals, leading to complex ethical dilemmas about what he could and couldn't reveal? It was thought-provoking television that respected its audience's intelligence, from the spiritual streets of America to the mysterious alleyways of Cold War Europe. Assignment Vienna, 1972. At the height of the Cold War, Assignment Vienna brought us Jake Webster, an American expatriate running a small cafe in Vienna while secretly working for U.S. intelligence. Robert Conrad starred in this sophisticated spy series that treated espionage more like a chess game than an action movie. The show stood out for its authentic European locations and complex plots that reflected real Cold War tensions. What made this show special was its attention to detail. The characters spoke multiple languages, the politics felt real, and the stakes were always personal as well as political. Remember how Jake's Cafe served as both his cover and a meeting point for various international operatives?
Craven's got a tumor. He's only got a couple of days to live.
Is that true?
Griff, Nitin Sidotry, looking for a fresh take on the private eye genre? Griff gave us something unique. Lorne Greene trading his Bonanza cowboy hat for a detective's badge. As Wade Griff Griffin, a veteran police officer turned private investigator, Greene brought gravitas to this hard-boiled series. The twist? Griff wasn't your typical lone wolf detective. He worked alongside his son, creating a fascinating father-son dynamic rarely seen in crime shows of the era. Remember those episodes where Griff's police experience clashed with his son's modern investigative methods? The show tackled generation gap issues while solving crimes, making it both socially relevant and entertaining. Each case revealed as much about family relationships as it did about the criminal underworld. As Griff balanced family dynamics with detective work, San Francisco's streets were about to meet a cop whose flamboyant style earned him an ironic nickname.
There's a new cop on the street. Say hello to him.
My name is D'Angelo. Sergeant D'Angelo, the mean one.
Burt D'Angelo Superstar, 1976. If Dirty Harry had a more cheerful cousin, he'd be Burt D'Angelo. Paul Sorvino starred as the titular detective whose unorthodox methods and larger-than-life personality earned him the sarcastic nickname Superstar from his fellow officers. Set in San Francisco, the show stood out for its mix of gritty police work and Burt's flamboyant approach to solving crimes. The show's signature move? Burt's habit of leaping onto the hoods of moving cars to stop suspects. Who else remembers holding their breath during these crazy stunts? It was like a weekly dose of action movie thrills on your TV screen. While Burt D'Angelo was leaping onto car hoods in San Francisco, another unique investigator was bringing Eastern wisdom to the city's criminal underworld. Most Wanted, 1976. In Most Wanted, Robert Stack played Captain Link Evers, leader of an elite LAPD unit targeting the city's most dangerous criminals. What set this show apart was its focus on specialized police work. Each member of Evers's team had unique skills, from surveillance to undercover work. The show prided itself on realistic police procedures, often based on actual LAPD cases. The show's signature element was its opening sequence, where Stack would describe that week's most wanted criminal directly to the camera, making viewers feel like part of the manhunt. Remember those tense moments when the team would set up elaborate stings to catch their targets? While Captain Evers and his team hunted down LA's most dangerous criminals, another show was turning crime-solving into an interactive puzzle for viewers. Jigsaw, 1972. Jigsaw took the anthology format and gave it a unique twist. Each episode was a complex crime puzzle that viewers could solve alongside the show's rotating cast of detectives. The series featured different investigators each week, but the real star was the intricate plotting that made every episode a mini-mystery movie. What made this show special was its pause-for-your-solution moment near each episode's end, where viewers were challenged to solve the crime before the final reveal. Remember frantically trying to piece together the clues before time ran out? It was interactive television before that was even a thing. from complex puzzle solving to high-stakes cases with a $1 million price tag. Cool Million, 1972. James Ferrantino starred as Jefferson Keyes, a private investigator who charged a cool $1 million per case. Before inflation, that was an astronomical fee, but Keyes was worth every penny, taking on only the most impossible cases. The show's premise allowed for exotic locations and high-stakes situations that other detective shows couldn't match. Each episode felt like a mini James Bond film, with Keyes traveling to glamorous locations and mingling with the ultra-wealthy. Remember his high-tech office with that massive early computer system? It was like glimpsing the future through a 1970s lens. While Jefferson Keyes charged a cool $1 million per case, our next detective relied on something money couldn't buy: the ability to become anyone, anywhere. Toma, 1973. Based on the real-life experiences of Detective David Toma, this gritty series starred Tony Musante as the titular character, famous for his incredible disguise skills and unorthodox methods. What made Toma unique was its dedication to realism. The real David Toma served as a consultant, ensuring authenticity in every episode. The show's trademark was Toma's amazing ability to transform himself using simple props and disguises. Remember how he could become anyone from a priest to a street vendor in seconds? These weren't just costume changes, they were masterclasses in undercover work. From one groundbreaking police series to another, as television moved from Toma's gritty disguises to a breakthrough moment in representation. Get Christy Love, 1974. You're under arrest, sugar. With that catchphrase, Teresa Graves made history as Christy Love, the first African-American woman to lead an hour-long drama series. As an undercover police detective, Christy Love broke both cases and barriers, handling everything from drug rings to international crime syndicates with style and wit. The show was groundbreaking not just for its lead, but for its portrayal of a strong, intelligent female detective who could outthink and outfight the bad guys. Remember those scenes where criminals would underestimate Christy because she was a woman, only to regret it moments later? It was revolutionary television that paved the way for future diverse representation in crime dramas. The Corner Bar, 1972. Long before Cheers made everyone know your name, there was The Corner Bar. This groundbreaking sitcom centered around Grant's Blue Room, a neighborhood bar in New York City where an eclectic group of regulars gathered to share their lives and laughs. The show made history by featuring TV's first openly gay regular character, Peter Panama, played by Vincent Schiavelli. The Paul Lynde Show, 1972. Paul Lynde, best known as the Center Square on Hollywood Squares, starred in this ahead-of-its-time sitcom as Paul Sims, a conservative attorney dealing with a changing world and his liberal son-in-law. Think All in the Family meets Father Knows Best, but with Linda's signature sardonic wit taking center stage. The show's real magic came from Linda's impeccable delivery of one-liners and his character's increasingly exasperated reactions to the modern world. Remember those classic scenes where Paul would break the fourth wall with just a raised eyebrow? Nobody could deliver a sarcastic aside quite like Paul Lynde. While Paul Sims battled the changing times at home, the creators of MASH were about to bring humor to an untold story of World War II. Rollout, 1973. Created by MASH producers Gene Reynolds and Larry Gelbart, Rollout brought humor to the Red Ball Express, the primarily African-American supply delivery unit of World War II. Starring Garrett Morris and Stu Gilliam, the show balanced comedy with subtle commentary on race relations and military life. The series stood out for its unique setting and strong ensemble cast. Remember the recurring bit about keeping the coffee pot running through impossible conditions? It brought humor to the vital but often overlooked support roles in wartime. From the supply lines of World War II to the sparkle of 1970s Las Vegas, television was about to trade army trucks for showgirl sequin. Blansky's Beauties, 1977. In this quirky, Happy Days spin-off, Nancy Walker starred as Howard Cunningham's cousin Nancy Blansky, a den mother to a group of Las Vegas showgirls. Set in then-contemporary 1977, the show gave us a behind-the-scenes look at Vegas life with a family-friendly twist. The series featured a young Eddie Mecca, later of Laverne and Shirley fame, and even included early appearances by Scott Baio. Remember those elaborate musical numbers that somehow always ended in comedic chaos? It was Vegas glamour meets sitcom slapstick. The Girl with Something Extra, 1973. Sally Field starred in this charming sitcom about a newlywed who happens to have ESP. Her character could read minds, which created endless comedic situations with her new husband, John Davidson, and everyone around her. Think Bewitched, but with telepathy instead of witchcraft. The show's clever premise led to countless funny moments, especially when Sally's character tried to hide her abilities. Remember how she'd accidentally respond to people's thoughts instead of their words? It was a supernatural twist on classic marital misunderstandings. From telepathic mishaps to mechanical malfunction, television's next Odd Couple would bring a whole new meaning to robotic police work. Holmes and Yo-Yo, 1976. In this ahead-of-its-time series, a veteran detective gets partnered with an android named Yo-Yo, though he doesn't know his new partner is a robot at first. The show combined police procedural elements with slapstick comedy, usually stemming from Yo-Yo's malfunctions at the worst possible moments. Think RoboCop meets Get Smart. Remember those scenes where Yo-Yo would take idioms literally, or his circuits would go haywire during crucial moments? It was science fiction comedy before that was even a recognized genre. From a malfunctioning robot cop to life behind bars, comedy was about to serve some time.
Lots of luck.
Them days can be forgotten. The world has gotten rotten.
Lots of Luck, 1973. Dom DeLuise starred in this sitcom about Stanley Belmont, a lost and found department supervisor at a New York City bus company. The show centered around Stanley's work life and his home life with his mooching family member, especially his freeloading brother-in-law. DeLuise's physical comedy and timing made even the most mundane situations hilarious. Remember the running gag about never-claimed items in The Lost and Found? Each episode revealed increasingly bizarre items that had been left on buses. While Stanley Belmont dealt with lost items and freeloading relatives, another family was about to adopt television's most unusual houseguest. Me and the Chimp, 1972. In one of television's most unique premises, Ted Bessel starred as a dentist whose family adopts a chimpanzee named Buttons. The chimp, who was supposedly a failed space program trainee, would invariably cause chaos in both the family's home life and the dentist's practice. Each episode featured increasingly elaborate sequences of the chimp creating havoc while trying to help. Remember when Buttons tried to assist with a dental procedure? It was controlled chaos at its finest. From the chaos of living with a chimpanzee to the challenges of running a family ranch, television was about to trade primate pranks for prairie humor. The Texas Wheelers, 1974. This overlooked gem starred Jack Elam as a lazy, good-for-nothing father who returns to raise his 4 children after their mother dies. The show featured Gary Busey and Mark Hamill, pre-Star Wars, as 2 of the Wheeler children, trying to keep the family ranch running despite their father's less-than-helpful presence. The series stood out for its unusual tone, mixing comedy with genuine emotional moments. Remember those sunset scenes on the ranch where the family would somehow work out their differences? It was a different kind of family sitcom that wasn't afraid to get real between the laughs. The Young Rebels, 1970. Before Hamilton made the American Revolution cool, the Young Rebels gave us a group of 20-something patriots fighting for independence in 1777 Pennsylvania. Led by Jeremy Larkin, Rick Ely, these young revolutionaries conducted espionage missions against the British while maintaining their cover as ordinary citizens. The show stood out for its fresh take on historical events, showing the American Revolution through the eyes of youth. Remember the episode where they had to smuggle messages using Benjamin Franklin's printing press? The show mixed historical figures with fictional adventure in a way that made history exciting for younger viewers. Sadly, even Paul Revere couldn't save it from cancellation after 1 season. From the battlefields of the American Revolution to the front lines of urban healthcare, television's focus shifted from historical heroes to modern-day healers. Born Free, 1974. Based on the famous movie about Elsa the Lioness, this series starred Gary Collins and Diana Muldaur as George and Joy Adamson, continuing their work with African wildlife. The show combined real wildlife footage with dramatic storylines, creating a unique blend of nature documentary and family drama. Each episode featured stunning African landscapes and close encounters with magnificent creatures. Remember those heart-stopping moments when the Adamsons had to intervene to save an injured animal? It brought wildlife conservation into living rooms years before such issues became mainstream. From the majestic plains of Africa to the sunny shores of California, television traded wildlife conservation for beach town shenanigans. The San Pedro Beach Bums, 1977. Imagine Friends set in the 70s on a beach with a group of lovable slackers. This short-lived comedy followed 5 friends living in a beach house, getting by on odd jobs and schemes while pursuing their version of the California dream. Each character had their specialty. One was a mechanic, another a cook, one a lifeguard, and so on. David Cassidy, Man Undercover, 1978. After The Partridge Family, David Cassidy tried to break his teen idol image with this gritty police drama. He played Officer Dan Shea, a young cop working undercover to infiltrate criminal organizations. The show was based on a true story and aimed for realism rather than glamour. What made it fascinating was watching Cassidy transform from Keith Partridge into a serious, dramatic actor. Remember those tense scenes where his cover was almost blown? It showed a completely different side of a familiar face. From the undercover world of modern crime to the royal courts of Siam, television proved it could span both centuries and continents. Anna and the King, 1972. Before Jodie Foster starred in Anna and the King, this short-lived series adapted the classic story with Yul Brynner reprising his famous role as King Mongkut of Siam. Samantha Egger played Anna Leonowens, the British teacher hired to tutor the king's children. The show balanced cultural differences with light comedy and drama. Temperatures Rising, 1972. Set in Capital General Hospital in Washington, D.C., this medical comedy took a different approach from serious doctor shows. Starring James Whitmore, later replaced by Paul Lynde, the series focused on the chaotic misadventures of hospital staff dealing with bizarre patients and situations. The show's humor came from mixing medical mishaps with political satire, being set in the nation's capital. Remember the episode where they had to treat a foreign diplomat who insisted on being cured by his country's traditional methods? The D.A., 1971. Robert Conrad starred in this innovative crime drama that showed the legal process from the district attorney's perspective. What made it unique was its split format. The first half showed the crime and investigation, while the second half focused on the prosecution of the case. Nashville 99, 1977. This forgotten gem combined country music with police work, following the cases of Lieutenant Dan Reardon, Claude Akins, in the Nashville Police Department. The show featured guest appearances by real country music stars and used Nashville locations authentically. Each episode incorporated music organically into the plot, whether through performances at the Grand Ole Opry or investigations involving the music industry. Remember how they would often solve cases while navigating through famous Music Row studios? It captured a unique moment in both police shows and country music history. As the final credits roll on our journey through the forgotten gems of 70s television, we leave behind a world where variety ruled the airwaves and experimentation flourished. These 40 obscure and underrated treasures remain whispers from an era when networks took chances and creators dared to dream differently. From forgotten TV shows to classic TV shows from the 70s, these rare TV shows and cult classics left indelible marks on the landscape of television history. Though overlooked in their time, these best 1970s TV shows deserve rediscovery by modern audiences hungry for something beyond the mainstream. The 1970s television series may be long gone, but these old TV shows from the 70s still have stories worth telling.